Hello guys, and welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be going over the Generaid archetype within Mystic Fighters. May butcher the name, not good at pronouncing the names they usually give it. So I'm going with Generaid, I'm pretty sure. Correct me in the comments. That being said, I'll be going over all the cards' effects, and then at the end, be giving my analysis on the whole archetype itself, and what type of impact it may make in the game. That being said, hope you guys enjoyed the video. So, just prefacing most of these effects, of course I made my own opinion already, and when you look at the cards, it only makes sense once you see all the cards together, so don't be judging these cards before we get to other cards, let's say. So the first card is Diverge, Generaid of Iron. It is a Earth Machine effect with 15 attack, 25 defense. You can only control one of these cards, control one of itself. Quick effect, you contribute any amount of number of Generaid monsters and or machine monsters. Special summon in defense position as many Generaid monsters or machine monsters from your hand that have different names from other distributed monsters. You can only use this effect of the Verge, Generaid of Iron, once per turn. So, it doesn't sound that great, but it will be better. It will be better, trust me. So, there's Fraudier, Generaid of the Sword, a Wind Warrior effect. It's 25 attack, 2000 defense. You can only control one Fraudier, Generaid of the Sword. Quick effect, you contribute any number of Generaid monsters and or warrior monsters. Then target as many monsters on the field, destroy that many as possible. Then your opponent draw one card for each monster they control that was destroyed by this effect. You can only use this effect of Fraudier, Generaid of the Sword once per turn. I will say the draw one card is a little bit unnecessary. It does make sense in this archetype sense, but it's still, if you're destroying multiple, you don't want to just give your opponent a pot of greed or something. Even for the destruction, sometimes if a deck just gets the resources back, let's say in a just card advantage sorts, maybe their deck's just all extenders, you just destroyed 2 extenders, gave them 2 more extenders, and they're like, okay, I'm going to do the same thing again. So, it's a little annoying in that, but still pretty good for an archetype. Now there's Hell, Generaid of Death, a dark zombie effect monster, 800 attack, 28 defense. You can only control one Hell Generaid of Death. Quick effect, you contribute one Generaid monster and or zombie monster. The target Generaid monster zombie monster in your grave with a different name, especially in defense position. So this sounds pretty okay, like kind of tag out, so yeah, pretty good. There's Marduk, Generaid of Light, a light plant effect. 24 attack, 24 defense. You can only control one Marduk Generaid of Light. If this card is normal special summon, you can add one Generaid card or plant monster from your deck to your hand, except Marduk itself. You can only use this effect of this card once per turn. So it's a search. Surprisingly, it's kind of slow, just because putting it out is a little not as easy. You do have to use like the effect to summon it from hand, and it's just slow. You're only going to be using that card probably on the next turn of when you searched it, so keep that in mind. This is a little bit slow search, but whatever. There's Naglfar, Generaid of Flames, a Fire Beast Warrior effect, 3100 attack, 200 defense. You can only control one Naglfar, Generaid of Flames. Card you control will be destroyed by battle or card effect. You can destroy one Generaid monster or Beast Warrior instead. You can only use this effect once per turn. So, it's not good. Like, protection wise, like, you don't have a boss monster you're sitting on. It's like, alright, I'll just let that one get destroyed. I'm not going to destroy one other one just to protect it. It's like, yeah, it's kind of bad. This was pretty good. The Dog, Generaid of Ice, a water worm effect. With 2100 attack, 26 defense. You can only control one Nagog, Generaid of Ice. When your opponent will special summon a monster, quick effect, you contribute one Generaid monster or worm monster. Negate the summon, and if you do destroy that monster, You can only use this effect of Generaid device once per turn. So, one actually really good effect on these monsters without even looking at the rest of the archetype. It's good, but there's not a consistent way to really slap it on the board. You kind of do want to open it, and the weird way this archetype does work. But for a base main effect monster, this is probably the most powerful once you get your engine running. Alright, so with that being said, getting to the XYZ, we have Generaid. They're all based on Nordic, I think, names. So I'm going to butcher those. Should have said that. Generaid of Eternity is an Earth Reptile XYZ effect. A question mark, attack and defense stat. Takes 2 level 9 monsters. You can only control one of this card. And this card's original attack and defense are equal to the number of materials attached to it times 1,000. Quick effect. You can attach from this card. Each player draws 1 card, then player who draws attaches 1 card from your hand or field to this card as material. So you attach, get 2 more materials. Okay. That's pretty good. It's like fine, but you're going to make Calamities most of the time. Like Calamities is just a better card. On to the spells and traps. We have Generaid Stage, what brings this archetype really together. A field spell. Once per turn, if your opponent adds a card from your deck to their hand, this can be by drawing, and drawing for his main phase, draw phase, boom, this triggers. You can special summon 1 Generaid monster from your deck in defense position during your opponent's turn. If you special summon a Generaid monster, you can special summon as many Generaid tokens as possible in an attack position, but destroy them during the end phase. You can only use this effect of Generaid Stage once per turn. So as you see, this fixes up the thing. Like the first card, you tribute some of them from hand, you're tributing tokens to do it. You're generally going to be tributing tokens for the cost of these cards, and you'll get it every time your opponent draws a card, so yeah, this is really good. Very, very good. There's then Generaid Reward, a continuous spell. While I control a token, your opponent monster cannot target Generaid effect monsters for attacks. If Generaid effect monsters destroyed by battle, your opponent draws a card. You can only use this effect of reward once per turn. Again, the draw a card thing, it's good when I don't think it's good on this card specifically. Like, you don't get the multiple token summons, so there's no reason of having every card say draw 1 card to it to trigger the field. But you won't open it all the times. There is a search for it, which is a trap, which means it would have to be activated during standby. So, yeah, it does make sense on certain things. Generally just not this, though. Then, Generaid Quest, a spell normal. Reveal 1 Generaid monster in your hand, and if you do, add up to 2 Generaid spells and traps with different names. Protect your hand, except Generaid Quest, and place the revealed card on the bottom of the deck. We'll activate Generaid Quest once per turn. So if you draw, let's say, the first one that gets you summoned, and you usually want to summon it from deck, get the tokens, and then tribute the tokens, summon stuff from your hand. You can put it on the bottom and get 2 spells, which is a very broken search spell. So I really do like this card. It does help a lot card advantage wise. There's Generaid Battle, a trap normal, and you activate just Generaid field spell directly from the deck or grave. Then your opponent draws a card. So I think it activates after the thing is resolved when it's on field. I don't know exactly the card text's PSA of it. I think how it works is the field would be played, then your opponent draws the card, so it does trigger the field spell when you do this. So yeah, this card really good. It can also be searched out by Trap Trick. So yeah, perfectly good. If it doesn't work that way, that was a missed opportunity, because I know how they can write card text. There's a way that would, resolve after to do that thing. But yeah. Then there's Generaid Bite, a normal trap. You tribute any number of Generaid monsters, then target 1 XYZ monster you control. Attach the same number of Generaid monsters from your hand, field, or grave to the targeted monster as material. So you can load the monster with this trap. But are we ever going for that XYZ? I'm not sure. And you can only activate one Generaid per turn. I think this is the last card. Generaid Territory, a continuous trap. When your opponent activates a card or effect that in response to a Generaid card or effect's activation, you can discard one card. The activated effect becomes both players draw a card. You will use this effect to Generaid Territory once per turn. So yeah, that's the last card. Pretty good. It does have to be a response. So your thing must be chain link 1. Your opponent must decide, hey, I'm going to chain this to that, and then you can just activate this and say, no, each player draws a card. But if that gets ghost ogred, the whole chain would just resolve. This would not, activate within the chain, and your thing is probably going to get stopped. So continuous is a little bit rough. I think if it was a counter trap, it'd be perfectly fine balance-wise, I feel. It would be less respondable to. It would have to be responded to by, like, judgment or something, and it would make the card a whole lot better. Still, there is promise, and I'm going to give my overall review. So, my overall opinion on this archetype. How do I feel it will do? Will it be meta, rogue? It's not going to be meta. So, I'm going to go over the flaws I've seen with this archetype. First, it gives your opponent a lot of advantage, and your deck wants to kind of out-resource. It does have a overwhelming ability, but does not have that much recursion, and only uses resources in the hand a lot, even though it doesn't give you enough resources in the hand, and there is a bunch of graveyard recursion for the archetype. So recovery options are kind of, not there. And when you're giving your opponent a bunch of cards to do stuff with, it means they can make, better comebacks and stuff. So it's just an uphill battle. It would already be an uphill battle against meta decks, even if you did have all those draw effects added into the cards. I know it's necessary to, activate the field spell. And that's another thing. Your field spell is literally the only thing that makes this archetype good. This archetype is absolutely awful without the field spell. And sure, it does give a good consistency to it. You pretty much can play Trap Trick, you can play the Trap, you can play it, you can play a Terraforming. So that's like 10 copies, which is still pretty good. A little slow, but it's still good. But if it's for, say, MST'd, like, there's really no protection for the field spell itself. It's just very reliant on it. So let's say Unending Nightmare pop, and if you try to play other Unending Nightmare again pop, what are you doing as a Generaid player? Also, it doesn't have a, like, going first kind of setup. As you see, they all kind of wait. Like, a good play would probably be activate field spell, pass, and then your opponent draws, and you're like, summon the Verge, summon the tokens, tribute the tokens, summon a bunch of stuff from your hand. That's the good board that Generaid's putting up, alright? It's not... And, like, if they get resources, if they pop through, which it doesn't really add back to hand, that may have been a good use if the cards could add back to hand, because the graveyard recursion is kind of just bad. Sure, Hell is there, but that's only one card. You want to be able to activate multiple of these Generaid effects to possibly try and stop your opponent. And going first, if you had a going first strategy, of course, if you get 2 level 9s, you'd be able to make a Calamities, and be able to shut down your opponent for a turn, so you can set up more stuff. You'd be able to get the field spell effect off. You'd be stopping hand traps if you, like, called, I don't know, Fire Attribute with it. Means they would not be able to chain Ash within the hand. You can do all your things. It just doesn't have that much going for it going first, which is kind of sad part, because otherwise they could just do Calamities pass most of the time. So they have to wait for their opponent's turn to play, and I did see I did actually play it once, like, you know, someone testing it, and it's not bad. It's not archetype that just shows up and it's like, you're doing nothing. You can't function. Like I would say witchcrafters, if they don't do anything on the first turn, you're done for with witchcrafters. Like a call it by on your first monster. Well, rip, you're dead. Well, it sucks to be you, so it's more stabilized as a deck in that type of sense. And there is cards, there's like 2 card combos that will help you to like go first. Like the BDES card, that's just a free level 9 special summon. And then Monstrosity, summon 2 from the deck. And then Overlay for Calamities, boom, you have a go first board. And like if you have the field, there you go. You're doing well for yourself. That being said, I don't think it's going to be a crazy rogue strategy. Kind of close to like Burning Abyss, I don't know, Marincess once they get their new cards. I don't think it's going to be crazy powerful in that sense. But, you know, if you're playing casual, it seems like a nice fun deck. It's just a bit too slow. It gives your opponent a bit too much. For the power that they do have, it's just not enough. And it lets you as a Generaid player get out-resourced just because of your own cards, not really your opponent playing well. So, yeah, that's my opinion on the Generaid archetype. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you liked and enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.